Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're taking a closer look at vaping and really going to try to get to the bottom of what the latest research is telling us about the health impacts, all that stuff. Vaping has
Yeah.
exploded in popularity, right? And it's often presented as this safer alternative to smoking, but
Right.
is it really? I mean, what's the truth?
Well, that's the big question. And one of the biggest challenges we have is unlike smoking, which we've been studying for decades, vaping is still relatively new.
Hmm.
So we're kind of in uncharted territory in terms of truly understanding those long-term effects.
Yeah, so we're just starting to scratch the surface then.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so what's coming to light? I mean,
Wait.
what are researchers finding?
Well, one of the things that is particularly concerning is the rise in vaping-related lung issues.
Oh, wow.
Doctors, like Dr. Stephen Broderick at Johns Hopkins,
Okay.
he's been seeing a dramatic increase in these cases, which is, it's a pretty big red flag.
Yeah, I hadn't realized that it was already that prevalent, honestly. Like, what specific lung issues are we seeing?
So one condition that's been linked to vaping is something called popcorn lung.
Oh, wow.
And it's, kind of a scary sounding name, but it's for a pretty serious condition.
Yeah, popcorn lung, I mean, that sounds intimidating. What is it?
Basically, it's this rare condition that causes inflammation and scarring in the tiny air sacs in your lungs, right?
Okay.
And imagine, those delicate air sacs becoming stiff and scarred, making it incredibly difficult to breathe.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
That's
that's not a good picture.
not a good picture, no.
No, and is there any cure for that?
Sadly, there's no cure.
Oh,
And, there are treatments that can help manage the symptoms, but the damage is irreversible, unfortunately. And what's even more concerning is that the heated oils in vapes are suspected to be a trigger for this inflammatory response.
oh, so you're saying that something that seems so harmless on the surface, like vaping, could potentially lead to, this long-term chronic lung condition?
Right, exactly. And it's not just popcorn lung either. There are other potential health issues on the radar.
Like what?
Well, for instance, there's a risk of collapsed lungs, which can happen when air blisters in the lungs rupture.
Hmm.
And this has actually been observed in people who vape pretty heavily.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so the risks are starting to, stack up here.
Right.
I mean, what is it about vapes that's causing these problems? Like, what are we actually inhaling?
Well, the exact chemical makeup of vapes can vary quite a bit, but there are a few common culprits that are raising red flags.
Okay.
And one of them is formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde, isn't that the stuff they use in embalming fluid?
You got it. And it's a known carcinogen, and it's been linked to an increased risk of heart disease.
Wow.
And unfortunately, it's found in a lot of vaping products.
That's a little unsettling to think about. Like, something that's used to preserve bodies, we're inhaling that directly into our lungs.
Right.
Yikes.
It's not exactly reassuring.
No. It's not. And are there any other concerning chemicals aside from formaldehyde in these things?
Yep, there are a couple others, like diacetyl, for example.
Okay.
It's used to give vapes that buttery, kind of sweet flavor
Oh, yeah.
that a lot of them have, but it's been linked to severe lung damage as well.
So it's like this trade-off, right? Like, we get these tasty flavors, but at what cost?
Yeah, it's definitely a cause for concern.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's acrolein, which, believe it or not, is actually a weed killer.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's harmful to the lungs, and it's been found in vape aerosols.
Really?
Yeah,
So we're inhaling weed killer.
essentially. Yeah.
Man, it's just wild to think that something that's marketed as a safer alternative to smoking could contain all these harmful chemicals.
Right.
So if we kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, what does all of this mean for people who vape or are considering vaping?
I think the biggest takeaway here is that vaping may not be the harmless alternative it's often made out to be.
Yeah.
And while more research is definitely needed to fully understand the long-term effects,
Like,
the evidence we have now is suggesting some pretty serious potential health risks.
it's definitely a stark reminder that, we need to be really critical of the information that we're given, especially when it comes to our health.
Right, absolutely.
Like, really think for ourselves.
Yeah.
And, given what we're learning today, how should public health messaging around vaping evolve? That's something I think we all need to think about, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
And, I hope it's encouraged everyone listening to think critically about the choices that we make